Ferb. I know what we're gonna do today. US President Ronald Reagan is widely regarded as one of the most influential presidents in the last century. The reason that your dad still has that Reagan-Bush shirt in the back of his closet. Spoiler alert, it wasn't for the Bush part. But on March 30th of 1981, John Hinckley lay in wait in front of the Hilton, D.C. hotel with the intent of ending the life of Ronald Reagan. The weapon in question, a very bizarre little .22 revolver. Today, we are going to be recreating this historic assassination attempt, as well as getting into some of the more interesting details and the questionable motivation behind it. Of course, incorporating some trademark dark humor. Now, the weapon used in this particular assassination attempt was the German-made RG-14S. This is a .22 caliber 6-shot revolver. Also an incredibly questionable weapon for an attempted assassination, but hey, for details we will get into later, the guy did not seem to be exactly in a proper state of mind. We're gonna shoot this real quick just to demonstrate it, but I cannot impart to you how much this feels like a toy. Not particularly well constructed, feels just very cast and shitty. Apparently was bought for $29 back in the day. Of course, that was in 1981 dollars because the US continues to devalue our currency at an alarming rate. Let's shoot it. So to load this particular revolver, normally on this side, you would have some sort of lever that would then allow the cylinder to swing outward. Here on this one, you just pull this plunger out and that just entirely comes free. Stick that in your fucking pocket, I guess. And then this allows the cylinder to swing outward, where you can then load the gun. Got our .22 caliber rounds here. Of course, you can swing that back, take the rod, insert it back into the gun, and you are ready to impress Jodie Foster. We're gonna demonstrate it on this steel plate real quick. Despite having owned this for some time in anticipation of this video, I've actually never fired this gun. So we're about to see just how accurate this can be. I'm the taxi driver, baby. 3, 2, 1. Eh, 3 out of 4, not too bad. Now, another thing that I have just now put together that makes a little bit of sense is that this rod can now be used, since there's no ejector of any kind, getting these rounds out. This rod, I'm assuming, is to be used to help punch out the empty casings. Which actually, now that I look at it, makes a great deal of sense. I love it when I figure shit out in real time while we're on camera.
All right, guys, real quick, I'm interrupting myself because I have an announcement that I think is pretty cool. My buddy Nick, the fat electrician, is no longer special because yours truly has officially been added as a commander in World of Warships.
Hang in there, guys. Help is on the way.
Suck on it, nerd. That's right, from now until December 31st, World of Warships is teaming up with me, putting me in the game with custom voice lines and special bonuses.
Enemy cruiser destroyed.
And I will say they did let me have a little bit of fun with the voice lines. I had a good time. We'll see how much of that they kept, or how much their legal department allowed them to keep. But new players can use the invite code AKADMIRAL. And that gives you a badass starter pack with me as your commander. And this is a nice touch. You also get the USS Texas with Lone Star Permaflage, AK Guy Flag, 250 doubloons, 7 days of Premier Access, 1.5 million credits, and 1 port slot after 11 battles. You guys know me. All about that port slot. Now, if you're an existing player and you want to add me as a commander, don't worry, you can always just click the link down in the description and start the mission. Honestly, this was just kind of a cool collaboration, so I hope you guys enjoy it as well. I can't wait to go download it and play with myself. Anyhow, check it out using the links in the description and in the pinned comment. Appreciate World of Warships. And of course, as always, if you ever wanted to get your start in gunsmithing and weapons technology, I recommend you check out sdi.edu. Links for that are again down in the description in the pinned comment. We appreciate them. Back to Reagan.
Yeah, .22 LR, well, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't want to get fucking shot by it. Not exactly the premier weapon for human-sized targets. Like I said, John Hinckley Jr. probably not of the best state of mind at the time. So let's talk a little bit about the motive. You may have remembered in the beginning of this video that I was reading the book The Catcher in the Rye, one of the most miserable pieces of literature ever fucking written. You might be thinking, Brandon, The The Catcher in the Rye was actually what John Lennon's assassin was reading that inspired him to, well,
kill John Lennon!
And you'd be right, but it also inspired John Hinckley as well, apparently. This is apparently the original piece of media that inspired fucking miserable incels. Speaking of incels, that was the other part of it that's a little bit better known. John Hinckley apparently was trying to shoot the President of the United States at the time, Ronald Reagan, because he was obsessed with the movie Taxi Driver and wanted to impress Jodie Foster, the actress. I'm confident that he did get the attention of Jodie Foster. I am also confident that it was not positive attention. Also, something that doesn't get brought up ever is the fact that Jodie Foster at the time was barely 18 when this assassination attempt took place. In the movie Taxi Driver, she was 12 years old, playing a 12-year-old child prostitute. So, there's that. And if you also had to read The Catcher in the Rye in high school and thought it fucking sucked, go ahead and subscribe. Plus, we do some pretty cool stuff here. Hopefully you guys enjoy that too. Much more than Catcher in the fucking Rye. Interesting note, not only is John Hinckley still alive, but as of a couple of years ago, he's actually out of prison. I think making him the only living human who's ever shot an American president, and not only survived, but is now walking free. Mental illness was of course cited in the case, which, I mean, fair enough. And if you're wondering what he's up to these days, he's actually got a pretty quiet life of making country music on YouTube.
She's my one and only, there ain't no other way.
Which, okay, it's a weird world, man. Although he never did get that date with Jodie Foster. I mean, at least not yet. I guess there's still time. Anyhow, Mr. Gorbachev, set up that dummy. Sorry about this, Mr. President. Now, another thing that's interesting and worth noting about this assassination attempt is that Reagan was not the only one that was hit. In fact, Hinckley fired all 6 rounds from this little revolver and hit a total of 4 people. Ronald Reagan, Tom Delaney, Tim McCarthy, and James Brady. The most grievously wounded amongst them probably being James Brady, who was, of course, shot in the head. His wounds were so severe that media initially reported that he had been killed, to which his surgeon replied, "No one has informed me and the patient." Luckily, James Brady did survive, although 33 years later, when he died, it was deemed a homicide, potentially due to the connection with the gunshot wound he had suffered 33 years prior. Now, if the name Brady hasn't sounded familiar yet, let me fill in the pieces. Brady's wife would go on to lead the Brady Group, which is a gun violence prevention organization that would essentially spearhead several anti-gun bills over the years. In fact, the Brady Bill, as it's referred to, named after, of course, James Brady, is the reason why we have federal mandated background checks in this country and have since the early 90s. Passed in 1993 and is the reason why, since then, every single firearm manufacturer, gun store, gun show, pawn shop, any place you can buy a firearm like that in this country, it is federally mandated that there is a background check done through the NICS system. The next time a gun grabber comes to you and says, "We need background checks," remind them that we've had them federally mandated in this country for over 30 fucking years. And that's technically in no small part due to this guy.
You see desolation everywhere.
So with the documents that we have, we can tell that Reagan was actually shot in the left lung. So he was hit in a rib, which then bounced down into the bottom of his left lung, puncturing his lung. A couple famous lines that came out of that as well, because of course Reagan being the great communicator and very, very well known for his witticisms. One of them being when his wife, Nancy, came to his side, of course after being shot. He said, "Nancy, I forgot to duck." The other one he was known for, which was while he was being prepped for surgery to, again, well, remove the bullet, right before being put under for the surgery, told his surgeons, "Well, I hope you're all Republicans." This guy was like the country's grandpa, man. All right, attempting to jump the gun on a President Bush in 3, 2, 1. All right, so let's go ahead and look in here. We hit right below the rib. As you can see, the blood starting to pour out a little bit here. And we see some blood pooling there at the bottom of his left lung, which pretty much, I mean, that's about what it would have been. Just out of curiosity, having to look for an exit. There is in fact no exit wound. You can see the bullet actually stuck behind his left lung though, if you want to come over here to the backside. That right there about, I can actually feel it, is about an inch behind, or an inch away from the surface flesh there. as the 22 round just stopped directly in his torso. Now, another detail of this assassination attempt I didn't actually know until I started doing research for this video is that the 22 caliber round that went into Ronald Reagan's body wasn't a direct hit. It actually had skipped off of the hood of the presidential limousine. So it skipped off the metal hood and bounced into his rib, which then deflected into his lung. Now, obviously I don't have a presidential limousine hood laying around, but I figured it would be cool to try to recreate that. So I have a steel plate set up over there next to the dummy, and we're going to attempt to see if we can bounce a 22 up into around the same spot. See if that radically changes anything if the bullet fragments, something that would be a little bit more accurate to what actually happened. See if we can get this on a ricochet here. I go pretty low. See if I can get it to bounce up. Firing, 3, 2, 1. Oh damn, that was actually probably the perfect shot. Check this out. So I think that's, according to the diagram, I think that's actually closer. The shot actually deflected, it smacked. I just saw that that's a cracked rib there. That smacked right there and then deflected down into the lung from the rib. Could not have aimed that better. I wish I could take credit for that being purposeful. I just wanted to get close. So right there, you can see where the ballistic gel actually got disrupted, where it smacked the bottom side of that rib and went straight into the bottom of his lung. On the back side, there is no exit that I can see, which means it is actually lodged directly in the lung. Honestly, I thought there was a maybe 30% chance we could even replicate that shot. Never would have thought we would have nailed that on the first try. I'm glad the cameras are rolling because we couldn't do that again. Honestly, this is an assassination, or I guess assassination attempt is a better way to put it, that I find extremely interesting because it's an inherently political assassination. You're shooting a US president, but the motivations behind it were basically non-political entirely. But it still had lasting repercussions in American politics, and Ronald Reagan ended up surviving, doing 8 full years as President of the United States and dying a much older man in 2005.
We're reminded of the many traditions of openness and democracy that have marked the history of this city. America missed me.
Fuck, I mean, I guess technically John Hinckley served his time and went on to pursue his dream as a country music artist. The Catcher in the Rye still has a better KD than you do on Battlefield 6. What a world. Point being is, if you're looking for interesting shit that you thought would never happen in real life and would have to be fiction, look no further than a history book. But anyhow, I hope you learned something from this video. This is one of our series that we do on historic assassinations because I find a lot of them very intriguing. Mostly that a lot of people know that they happened, or in instances like this, a lot of people probably don't. But even on the ones you do know about, you don't really know all the details. It's very interesting history, at least to me, and I hope it's interesting to you. I love learning about this stuff, and I love being able to pass that information to you guys. So I just want to say, I hope you enjoyed this video. I appreciate you staying all the way to the end. And as always, I will see you sexy YouTube mother lovers next time. And you better subscribe because we have a really fucking cool video coming out next, and I'm very excited for it, and I don't want to spoil it. That's it. I'm out. Thank you.
Fuel is my obsession to make the perfect weapon, like Rasputin's rise to the top. But you can stop.